thinks Grant looks very handsome in his outfit. Because I'm not going to lie, he's very handsome. Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Charming Analysis podcast. I'm Mari.
I'm Jay.
And today, we are back with another episode of our Halloween Spectacular. For today's episode, we are going to be talking about PontyPool. Sorry, I had to cough really quick. So, this is a movie that came out in 2008. Mm-hmm. So, it's a bit of an older movie. So, honey, why don't you explain what PontyPool is about? Go ahead.
A virus happens and people at a radio station are covering it, and it spreads through the English language. That's the movie.
That's the gist of the movie. That's basically the basic plot of it. So, first thing before we go into our thoughts, the first thing, literally as soon as I found out what the premise of this was about, the first thing I thought of was Killer Frequency, which is a video game with this very similar premise to this, except it wasn't a zombie apocalypse. It was about just a killer going around like the entire town and stuff like that. So that's the first thing I thought of. And that's a game I saw recently. And as soon as I started seeing this movie, I was like, shit, this reminds me of fucking Killer Frequency. But anyway, enough with that aside. What did you think of PontyPool? Because I actually really liked the premise of this. I thought this was a good movie, honestly. What did you think of it, honey? As we each chew on Halloween candy because it's Halloween month. It's spooky month.
It was okay.
That's all you have to say? It was okay?
Yeah, I found the first half pretty boring.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Are you kidding me, honey? Come on.
I did, and like half the time I couldn't even hear it because the soundtrack was keep going off with the frequency, and I was like, what are they saying? I wish I could hear what they're saying. Like,
I thought the movie itself was a very interesting premise and stuff like that. I personally liked the movie. I thought it was something different. I also liked how we don't see a lot of movies done this way where like an actual language is the thing that's infecting the zombie movie kind of thing. Most of the time it's like an actual virus, but this is actually a word someone speaks and stuff like that, which I thought was interesting. And it's like, it's a very interesting premise, and I like that they got to play with the idea a lot better instead of just going the basic route of, oh, they got bit by somebody and now there's zombies going around. But it's like, they said a word that they didn't know was infecting people. Mm-hmm. And then that's how the whole apocalypse happened, which I thought was a very interesting premise and something I thought was very unique about this movie, to be completely honest with you. Like, I liked the premise. Mm. Like, I thought it was great. What did you think of, like, the actors in it? Because I actually liked the guy that played Grant. He did a great job. His costume was also really fucking cool. Can I just point that out? That I liked Grant in this. He was a good man in this movie. I don't care if he was a fucking douche. I liked Grant. What did you think of the characters?
they were fine. I can't really think much of this movie even after I watched it, because I'm just like, when the first half doesn't get me, and when it's sometimes really hard to understand what the characters are saying, and then like when you get to the second half where it's like shit went down and they gotta protect themselves and everything, I just did not find the whole premise all that interesting to me. Like at the end of the day.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
So
that's crazy.
I don't know, it just didn't I didn't really care. I didn't really care for it, honestly. And I didn't have much expectations going in either. I didn't hear that this was like a great movie. I just put it on the list because it was like, I don't know, it's just something that I have never seen before. So I put it on and I'm just like, okay, well, I guess I watched it. I can say that I watched it. And that's about all I can say about it.
I personally thought it was interesting. Like, I thought the characters were very compelling. I will admit, though, Grant was a bit of a fucking douche, like, for the first half of it, but I kind of liked that about his character, though. It kind of made him seem a little gritty, a little rough around the edges kind of thing. I can't get over his fucking outfit. I loved his outfit. I would cosplay him. I don't know why. I would cosplay Grant if I had his outfit. Like, I loved that. And I also thought it was interesting that we barely got to see any actual footage happen except like toward the end. All this takes place in the radio station, and it's mostly them talking and hearing a bunch of audio, which it could be a budget reason of why they did that.
Yeah, probably a budget thing.
Because we'll use Cube as an example, because that basically came out like years ago as well. This came out 2008, a little bit later than Cube did, but both of them had like not very big budgets, but they still made a good product out of it, and they still did what they could with it. This was one of those movies to where I feel like, even though I don't feel like they had that big of a budget, which, let me actually look up how much the budget was for PontyPool, because I'm actually curious.
Tap, 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 tap.
Tappy, tappy, tap. Production budget was $1,500,000.
Oh, no wonder.
That's the product budget.
Canada always loves to make their, like, they actually know what their budget is when they want to make a movie, unlike here, where they want to, like...
You put millions of dollars into it, and, like...
Someone's countering that money.
Yeah. But here's the other thing I noticed. This is another Canadian movie. Cube was also a Canadian movie. But for this being in 2008 and what they had with $1,500,000, I still thought they did good with that budget, honestly. Like, I liked that we actually got to hear more of what was happening than actually see it, because it kind of makes your mind wonder what the fuck's happening. And it's one of those things to where, based on what you're hearing, anyone can interpret it a different way. Like, no one's going to interpret it the same way, which... I'm one of those people, I like movies with interesting premises. It doesn't have to be that good, but if it's an interesting premise, I'll fucking watch it. Like, this was definitely an interesting premise, and I really liked this. For it being like, I think it was like an hour, like 30, I think, right?
Yeah.
For it being like an hour and 30 minutes, I was hooked on this. It went by faster than I was expecting it to go, honestly. Like... Another thing that I liked about this movie is basically how they're trying to figure out how to solve the case, but they don't really know how to quote-unquote solve it. They basically are just trying to stay alive throughout the whole thing, because they don't really know what the cure is, or if there even is a cure. I like that they're just not jumping down like, okay, how do we fix this? They're like, oh, fuck, we got to get out of here first before we decide how we're going to fix this shit. And... I would definitely watch more of something like this. I would probably, like, watch, like, a sequel or, like, a prequel to this. Because I like the...
But not buy the book, apparently.
I would buy the book. I would buy the book. I would actually read the book based on this. If the book is like this, I would fucking read the book. It sounds interesting. But something I did notice when I was doing research into this, because... For those who don't know, this is based on a novel called PontyPool Changes Everything. It's a 1995 novel written by Tony Burgess. And there was a spin-off for this movie released called Dreamland in 2019. And apparently, from what I've also looked up, there's supposed to be a direct sequel called PontyPool Changes. But it's been constantly teased since this movie came out. But apparently it's been in development for the past 13 years. So I don't even know if it's still technically being made at this point. But if the second movie is based on this, I would fucking watch this. Because it sounds very interesting. And all that stuff. It's supposed to be like so Dreamland's like a spin-off of it. But they're supposed to make like a second movie, supposedly. But anyway... I personally liked the premise of this. I would definitely watch this again. One whenever the fucking sequel for this is released, or if, I don't know if the spinoff is technically a sequel to this in quotes, or if they're actually making a sequel to this, regardless, I would watch it, because I would like to actually see what they do with this premise. I feel like this is a movie that definitely did good with the first movie, but I feel like they could also do better with the second as well, and add on to it, because I would watch more of this shit. I don't care if it's fucking dumb, or like if it's just mostly hearing audio. I like it. It just makes my brain go burr. Like in a good way. It's like a good burr in your ear. I sound like a fucking crazy person. I am so sorry. You're just like smiling at me explaining shit. I see that little smile on your face.
It's nice that you get to express like passion for a movie that I don't have much passion about.
Yeah. But I do like the premise of this. I wish we had more movies that did shit like this, because it gives a new take on a classic trope that I never thought they would actually do with it. Like, I liked how they did this. It's unique. It's different. I am trying to look up and see if there's any kind of, like, if Dreamland's technically a sequel, quote-unquote, to this, or if it's a separate thing that goes in the same universe, and then the sequel's supposed to be made, but I don't know if Dreamland is a sequel or not, but if there is a sequel, would you watch it? Because I would. I definitely would. Not really?
Probably not.
Not your cup of tea?
Mm-mm.
Okay, I was just curious. I'm trying to look up one more thing before I guess we go into, like, our rating, because it's going to be a shorter podcast, because you don't really have much to talk about with it. But I would like to know, I guess, what they're going to do with this premise. Because I'm trying to see if they're going to make, like, the second movie and stuff like that. Because I would like to see, like, this be expanded upon. Unmade sequel. So apparently it was an unmade sequel that they were supposed to do. And stuff like that. I'm just, like, trying to find some kind of info for it. Let me see. It says it left its viewers with an open ending. And the post-credits scene. Oh, that's another thing I wanted to ask about. What did you think of the post-credits scene? Because I didn't think this was going to have a post-credits scene.
I don't know. I don't know what to think about that.
My goodness. Because this was supposed to have a sequel. And that's the reason the thing was so open-ended, was because of that. So I'm curious to see if they're going to, like, do anything else with it. I don't really know, like, if they're going to do anything with it after this, but I eventually hope we do actually get to see, like, what they do with this premise, but I can't find anything on it right now, and I don't want to just spend the rest of the podcast just fucking looking for it. So, you want to give your rating first for PontyPool?
Yeah.
And then I'll give mine?
Yeah.
What do you rate PontyPool out of 10? I want to hear your thoughts.
I rated a 4.
You give it a 4?
Mm-hmm.
How come you give it a 4?
Because I didn't really care for it.
That's
surprising. I
surprising.
can't really say anything awful about it either. Just wasn't really interesting to me.
Okay. For me, I personally give this, I was going to maybe give it a 9, but I think that's a little bit too high. I'm going to give it an 8.5. I thought it was a good movie. It was decent. I actually like the premise of this. It's a very interesting premise, and I like how they decide to do everything with it. What were some of your issues with this movie? Because for me, my biggest issue is probably, like, I kind of wish we had a little bit more of it, or at least they decided to dive into how the virus started. Because you don't really get to know. It's like unknown origin. And the doctor in the movie doesn't really explain anything, so I wish, other than the fact that I wish they explained how this virus started, I thought it was a good movie. But yeah, I give it an 8.5 out of 10 and stuff like that. But do you have anything else to say before we end it here?
No. I think I said what I needed to say.
All right. Well, It's a bit of a shorter podcast, but sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. And as always, I'm Mari.
I'm Jay.
And we're out.